Hey YouTube, short one just to get you caught up with the Workbench build after vacation. I got some time together and managed to glue up the legs for this critter. It's the same as gluing up the top, only not as many pieces, and thankfully they're not quite as heavy. But lots of glue, and make sure to get these things hammered down onto the clamp so that you get one nice flat side. Takes a couple of different trips with the hammer, in fact, because every time you tighten the clamps, things want to move in the slippery glue. All right. 2 down, 2 to go. I'm out of clamps though, so I'm gonna let these 2 set up for, I don't know, maybe 6 hours or so in the clamps. Then I'll take them out, I'll glue up the other set, and then tomorrow I'll be ready to start shaping them and thinking about joinery. Joinery starts with a trip to the jointer. I'm cleaning up the glue lines and making sure that I have one absolutely, completely dead flat surface as a reference for all of the markings I'm gonna make for joining. The other side could be whittled down with a planer, but it turns out there's quite a bit of material to remove from most of these legs. So I decided to do it on the table saw. Not that this is a fast operation either. What you're looking at is sped up to 500%. But it takes only 2 cuts to get the whole way through this thing, and if your blade is nice and square, they'll line up. My cross-cut sled on the table saw is just thick enough that the blade wouldn't really reach to do the 2-cut method for cutting off the ends. So I busted out the Harbor Freight chop saw and did the best I could. One of the things you can do to help the accuracy of this particular bugger is not use the chopping action. You'll notice here that I'm only using the slide to make these cuts, and I let the blade come to a complete stop before I lift it up. I don't have a dado sled for the table saw, so instead I made all of the cheek cuts for the tenons using the regular blade so I could get them nice and square and all the same depth using a clamp as a stop block. This requires, 4 trips around the leg, but with the clamp there to make sure that they all line up, it's no sweat getting these nice and even and square so that you have a clean shoulder the whole way around the leg. With the cheeks precisely established, I could switch over to the dado blade to hog away the rest of the material using my otherwise inaccurate miter gauge. I ran a test piece just to make sure I had the depth exactly right, and this, by the way, is right where the camera died. But don't worry. Hogging away the material on the actual legs is exactly the same as cutting this piece right here. You make 1 cut to hog away most of it, and then you have to make a second to clean up that little tag end. You can see the finished tenon here on the router table. They came out pretty nicely, bug holes and all. I'm adding a little 1/8 round over to the leg edges because that jointed maple is sharp stuff. So there you go, 4 legs for the Workbench. These things are heavy, they are stout. I don't think they're going anywhere once we get that tenon put in the appropriate mortise in these heavy old tops. Those mortises in the top are the next step in this project. They are going to finalize the front to back dimension of the sides of this base and therefore the stretchers that I need to cut. But that's all going to have to wait for next week. Thanks for hanging with me through my little vacation break there, and until next time, stay safe, YouTube.